No, have we flogged this one enough? Have we? All right, let's crack on. Something a little more serious now, and every other week it seems that Aussie manufacturers are slimming down and shedding jobs. The latest sector to be hit is the canning industry, and one company is crying out for government help.
Across Australia, spring blossoms promise a bumper crop, but not here. On this orchard in Victoria's Goulburn Valley, thousands of fruit trees are being ripped from the ground.
Really, it's a disaster, not disaster for me, disaster for the industry.
Tom Bozzoni came to Australia from Italy when he was just 19.
We never knew much about Australia, and when we arrived here, it was fantastic. I thought it was one of the beautiful countries.
Over 45 years, Tom grew his farm to employ 37 people to manage 65,000 trees, sending his fruit to be canned. But over the years, the cannery ordered less and less. This year, Tom and 60 other growers were told to take their fruit elsewhere. The canning factory wouldn't buy it.
700,000 trees have got to go. So that's a lot of fruit, that's a lot of trees.
The unpicked fruit will rot and attract pests to other working farms.
I'm hating doing this job. It's just, you know, it's gut-wrenching, and I feel for the owner because it's his livelihood, it's his whole life, and he's losing a lot.
The tree is like a family. You buy the tree, you clean the tree, you look after the tree. It's hard for anyone.
The canning industry is in crisis. 12 operators along the east coast have gone bust in the last 5 years, with more than 1,200 jobs lost and thousands of growers left with unsold product. Only 2 companies remain, and they're both foreign-owned.
We are good at making food. That's the sad thing, right? We're really good at it.
Peter Kelly runs SPC Ardmona, the canning operator that slashed at its order.
Australia has a natural advantage of growing food. I mean, if you want to talk about the strategic importance of having industries, it's pretty important that we're able to grow and feed ourselves. The
sky-high Aussie dollar has shot up in the past 5 years, cutting the cost of South African imports by 40%, those from China by a quarter. $264 million worth of sales have gone overseas, where food standards are less stringent and labour costs less. Factory wages in South Africa are a fraction of what Aussie workers get. It costs 32 cents to produce a 1 kilo can of peaches here, compared to just 19 cents in South Africa.
If I want to ship Australian fruit to China, I have to pay a 20% tariff on the way in. If China wants to send me their second-rate fruit, they pay nothing. How's that a good deal?
Peter's company wants emergency tariffs, anti-dumping measures and government investment to weather the economic storm. But is that a fair request?
Industry protection is never needed. Basically, we've got a situation where the government is just paying money to private companies and taking risk away from them.
Simon Cowan says that increasing competition is a good thing.
The benefits to consumers of opening these markets up to competition, the benefits to Australians, outweigh those potential losses.
Not to be able to make food, to rely on food coming from countries that have got environmental problems and problems with food safety, that's a big call. That's different from buying a radio from Japan or a TV set from South Korea.
Tom is the human face of this problem. He is staring down the barrel of no super, no livelihood and very little hope. 3 years ago, he could have sold his land for $4,000 to $6,000 a hectare, but now he'd be lucky to find a buyer willing to pay $1,200.
When you do the best for your country and provide the job for others, the government should do some protection for us.
All sides agree the best way to keep fruit trees in the ground is simple: buy Australian.
You cannot just continually rely on government to prop up these companies if you are not purchasing your goods from them.
I don't want to live in a country where I can't work out where my food came from, and I don't want to feed my kids, quite frankly, food that's not grown in Australia.
The fact that there's a tariff for us selling to China seems that it's not an even playing field, and hopefully a free trade agreement that Tony Abbott's working on will
aside from what we talked about before with climate change, this is going to be the big national debate, because if we're going to have free trade, then it has to work both ways. But in these circumstances, that's a national disgrace. To be ploughing fruit trees in and burning them, and that's just done.
It is hard to know if you do want to buy Australian whether something has been made in Australia or just packaged in Australia. But if you look for the product of Australia labels, that means it's
SPC's trying
100% made and packaged
Obviously
in Australia.
worth finding out, you know, take that little bit of extra effort.
And also, given that there are big question marks over chemicals and the health of the way things are farmed, particularly in China, and we know that we are much safer here with Australian fruit.
Time for another break now. We'll be back in a bit.
Coming up, poison apples, 7